impeachment. The debate is over timing. Should they do it now or should they wait 6 or 12 months? Because they're debating inside that room today whether the American voter is fully informed about the reasons for impeachment. Do you need to wait for Mueller to testify, wait for Don McGahn and Hope Hicks to testify so the American people can see somebody put their hand in the air and testify about the president's conduct rather than just reading it in the report? And they also believe the strategy could be to impeach the president in the House. And you're right. Removing the president from office in the Senate is almost certainly going to fail in this current dynamic. But they also believe they may have a duty to make a statement in the House.
But how about Republicans? If more and more comes out, or the White House continues to stonewall every subpoena or every request, will we see more Justin Amashes who simply say we have a duty here? Or are we just saying, nope, Republicans are all just going to hop on board together?
Based on the current situation and my reporting, you should have low expectations about any Republican cracks beyond Amash. Amash is a libertarian Republican from Michigan. He's a loner inside of the House GOP. He met with his House Freedom Caucus members this week. You know what they told him? We're with President Trump. That's what they said to his face in private meetings. The House Freedom Caucus met separately from Amash. They're becoming a protectorate, in short, for President Trump inside of the House. This is not a House that's trying to break away.
So the president won the short-term battle in terms of the Mueller report when I talk narrative. You and I both know that Robert Mueller did not exonerate the president. Just yesterday, we saw another Republican say, case closed. The case is not closed. But in the court of public opinion, the president has pushed that narrative, and many Americans say, move on. Is the right move for Democrats the third lane? More investigations, more subpoenas, more court challenges, putting people on the stand to tell that story that's inside the Mueller report, because we know people haven't read those 400 pages, and the president is not exonerated.
Investigations for the sake of investigations doesn't make political sense based on my conversation with voters. I was just in South Carolina. A lot of people are confused about the wide array of probes out there. But if Democrats were focused in asking about the president's intent, asking Don McGahn and Hope Hicks about what they believe the president intended to do when he bullied the Attorney General Jeff Sessions, when he made calls to Don McGahn about maybe firing Robert Mueller, if they can dig into the intent, then maybe they can go beyond what Mueller concluded in his own report.
Sarah Sanders said it this morning. The president has said it. This is a witch hunt. Democrats are wasting their time and they're not serving their constituents. Is there any example of that? Can you point to an example where Democrats aren't focused on a legislative agenda? Are they shirking their responsibility and just focusing on this, or is that just a narrative?
You have to pay attention to Speaker Pelosi. What is she doing? She's still going to the White House to meet with President Trump on infrastructure. She's trying to talk about prescription drugs. She knows that the American people, based on my conversations with her aides and friends, want the Democrats to engage with President Trump on policy. But she also believes she can fight on two fronts. She can deal with the president on trade and immigration and infrastructure, but also still investigate his administration.
In terms of policy, they are going to talk infrastructure today. That's something Democrats absolutely want to get done. But we know since the president met with Chuck and Nancy and said, we're going to do this, guys like Mick Mulvaney, his chief of staff, have said low probability, not going to happen. Should Democrats keep pushing this? Because it's Republicans in the end who are not going to want to spend $2 trillion.
And the Democrats have drawn a line in the sand. They're not just going to do public-private partnerships. They want to see.
The president doesn't even want to.
No, and Republicans like Mick Mulvaney have to acknowledge that in divided government, you're not going to have an infrastructure deal unless you raise taxes or raise federal fees. Where else do you find the money for an infrastructure package unless you do that? But so many conservative Republicans in the House and the Senate are reluctant to do so. The real hang-up for the infrastructure plans right now, trade. If the USMCA isn't ratified this year, it's hard to see an infrastructure deal happening before the USMCA is dealt with.
But it's not impossible to get the USMCA dealt with, right? I mentioned this earlier.
Right.
It's not like getting
Especially
Democrats to sign on to the wall. USMCA is NAFTA 2.0. It's pretty good.
And now that you have a deal with Canada and Mexico, that perhaps could be moving forward. And the president is keeping an eye on the markets. He knows that the markets want to see a deal. Even if China hangs out there as something that's not going to be solved for 6 or 12 months, Secretary Mnuchin is giving no sign that there's a deal imminent on China. USMCA moves up to the front as the trade deal of the moment.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.